everyone, welcome back to Salt and Burn This, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Sammy.
I'm Valerie.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
It's like you always pause like there's going to be somebody else saying, and I'm...
I know, because like I always like want to say something. I'm always like, did I say welcome to the podcast? Or thanks for joining us? Or am I repeating myself? I need to learn from my mistakes and just like write a little script at each time. Yeah. Just for the intros and the outros, so I'm not like bumbling around like an idiot.
So I was telling you that my sisters and I are going camping, and one of the things we plan on doing is like doing a lot of day hikes and stuff like that. And I remembered that I have a pair of hiking boots from back when I lived in Virginia. We actually did a lot more hiking, but I was trying to remember the last time I wore these boots, because not a lot of hiking in Manhattan. Yeah. Haven't been any hiking since I moved here. And I was trying to remember back when last time I wore them. And last time I wore them, I was in LA and I went hiking with a friend of mine. But it was like straight up for most of the morning, just straight up. And so by the time I got to the top of wherever we were going, you know, you get that like leg fatigue. You know, I was tired, but I was ready to turn back down and head back. And so we rested for a little bit, turned around and started to hike back down. But by then my legs were just kind of a little bit jelly. And as we were coming down the same steep path, I stepped on like some loose gravel and I slid. And normally you can catch yourself, you know, when you slide. But because my legs were a little like, I slid and I kind of fell forward a little bit. And then my backpack hit me in the head. And that sent my head like over my knees. And I started running down the trail because I couldn't stop myself.
Oh, that's scary.
So it just started my momentum. And so I'm running down this hill and I can hear my friend behind me going, "What's your hurry?" You know, as I was, you know, doing that road runner legs down the path, I finally was able to like, you know, hit the brakes and stop myself. But I was like, oh, so that was the last time I wore those boots.
Right. I had a traumatic experience. So I have a gripe to make about Grubhub. Today they offered quote unquote free lunch to New York City. Because I think they're trying to bring users back to their app. Okay, technically the free lunch is like up to $15, so.
Okay.
But still, like when you're ordering off these delivery apps, like those fees and stuff like add up like crazy.
Yeah.
And I ended up still paying about $12 for a freaking salad.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't think that Grubhub really gave a good heads up to any of the restaurants.
Oh no.
It took like 2 hours for it to be delivered to me. And I am not blaming the restaurant at all. This is not their fault. It's like I looked on like Twitter, on Grubhub's Twitter, and it's just filled with people having the same complaints, being like, why did you do this?
Oh my god.
Like this was a bad plan.
This did not roll out well.
These poor delivery workers are like stretched thin. By the time I got mine and I went down, and I wasn't mean, I totally understood.
Sure.
But he was just, I don't think he was yelling at me. He was just yelling in the vicinity of me. You know, I was there for someone, you know, to complain to, I guess. I don't know. He was just like, 2 hours delivery. But I don't know if he was yelling at me like I should like have done it 2 hours in advance, or if he was just saying like, it's been taking me 2 hours to deliver things. Yeah.
Oh gosh. I feel bad for every delivery person, because like,
and restaurant who, like, I even saw pictures of like, this is what your free promo actually looks like, and it's just like one of those ticket machines, you know, like when they get online orders, it just spits piled up. It's just piles of the tickets because they can't keep up.
Oh my god.
And then I felt bad for taking advantage of the quote unquote free lunch promo, but I was just like,
Yours was probably not the one that tipped him over the top, but you know.
Season 3, Episode 8, A Supernatural Christmas.
A very supernatural.
Yeah. Oh, very supernatural. Well, it blinks in and out.
Right.
Sam and Dean Winchester investigate a series of murders in which they are taking up the chimney. Written by Jeremy Carver and directed by J. Miller Tobin.
Can I ask an upfront question at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like this episode?
I did.
Okay. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good episode. There were parts of it I was like, oh, they're trying. Like some of it I felt like they were trying to fill in gaps.
It felt a lot longer than most episodes, particularly when I was note-taking. I was just like, oh my god, this is like going on forever.
Yeah, I usually can look up at the time bar and be like, oh wow, this is zooming right by. But every time I looked at the time bar,
it was the
like,
opposite.
Oh god, yeah, it's like, I still have 20 minutes to go. So it wasn't bad. I love this episode. I thought it was great. I want to say that in this episode, they had some of the best guest acting as far as more than just one guest actor. Mm-hmm. The two Ozzie and Harriet type characters that come on, brilliant. Loved them both. I loved the characters, and I love the actors playing the characters, in direct contrast to that couple that was on the earlier on in the season that I just absolutely hated in 7 Deadly Sins.
Oh, the Hunter couple?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, hated those characters, hated the actors.
Yeah.
This time I was like, I love these two, and I love the actors. So anyway, and I also loved the children once again. Child actors on Supernatural.
Yeah.
Great job.
There's 2 special things in this episode right at the top. One is like that really old-fashioned, I think it's from like the 70s or the 80s, where it's a special presentation.
Yep. The word special spins in Coda colors.
Yes, with that like synthesizer music. Kripke fought to get this in. Like, he was like, I don't know why I was stuck on having this, but I just want it to feel like it's a Christmas special like they used to do back in the day. But it was really hard for them to find because, like, no one knew who did it. No one knew who the music was by. Like, it took them forever to finally find it so they could use it.
When back in the days when I was watching TV and those specials would come on, the TV channel would also come on with that special spinning logo. Yeah. So for me on the East Coast when we were living, it was TV 38 Boston. So it would do TV 38 special in the spin. And I was like, oh, what's going to be on tonight? Yeah. So I totally bought it. I was like, this is going to be great. It's going to be a special. So I loved it. I was like, oh, hey, no recap. It's just the special.
Yeah, yeah.
Glad you dug in for that.
And then it's 1 year ago in Seattle, Washington. We see a grandfather coming home for Christmas. Grandson is super excited to see him. And he teases grandson. It's like, oh, I don't know if Santa's going to come. Only if you've been a good boy.
Right.
And then a split second later, we see Grandpa dressed as Santa. He's, fiddling with the tree. Rings some sleigh bells in order to lure the sun out. Then starts putting presents under the tree. Very cute.
Very cute.
Until he hears a thump, thump, thump up on the rooftop. Not quite reindeer paws.
But the little boy has come down the stairs because he heard the jingle bells. He's like, oh my God, it's Santa.
Yes.
So he's sitting on the stairs and he's listening.
Gleefully watching Santa.
Here's the thump, thump, thump. And he's like, reindeer.
Yes. And also some ashes fall into the fireplace from the chimney, and Grandpa goes to investigate, and a few seconds later gets thrusted up the chimney from something. He's screaming. There's awful bone-crunching sounds until there's the final one. No more screams. And then a dismembered Santa boot, bloody boot, falls down from the chimney.
Down to the chimney, and the little boy's
like, Santa?
So my brother-in-law, a couple times when the kids were younger, did the whole Santa on the roof thing. like he would go up on the roof and go, thump, 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 thump. And he would yell, ho, 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 down the chimney to get the kids to go to bed. And unfortunately, one night when he did this, I think one of them was just a little too young and it scared them. And like, and so not quite the same effect they wanted. But when I was watching this, I was like, don't trick kids like that.
Yeah.
You never know what kind of reaction you're going to get.
And then we get our second little special twist, which is a completely new, different title splash. It starts with like an ornament, in the middle of the screen, which then bursts open.
And it's snow.
It's snowing. It's like the
snowballs.
ching, 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 ching.
Yep.
And it says a very supernatural Christmas. The A Very and Christmas are in those like motel neon lights.
Neon tube lights, yes.
Yeah, and then the Very is like flashing on and off. Similar to the no in a no vacancy.
Right?
sign.
Oh, good
It's
call,
like, I
Sammy.
liked that. I like that they put a little motel flavor in there.
So the next Chiron we see for map questing is Ypsilanti, Michigan, right? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Ypsilanti?
I think so.
Yes.
Got me.
Yeah, Ypsilanti. Sam and Dean are FBI guys, and they're talking to a mom about the disappearance of her husband. This shot starts with like a little girl standing in the doorway, like in the storm doorway, and she's just like, I don't want to call her creepy, but she was like this obviously shocked or traumatized little girl just standing stiff as a board in that window and that door. I was like, okay, that's not good. And then it pans over to the mom who's saying, he was there 1 minute and the next thing, he was gone. We heard thumps and then he was gone. Dean is asking the questions. Sam isn't in the picture just yet, but Dean is like, were the doors locked? Sam comes out and Sam and Dean are like, all right, nothing else we can do here. We're going to go. And they walk outside to a beautiful spring-like day in Michigan. They're not wearing, there's no snow on the ground. They're not wearing their, winter coats, there's beautiful leaves on the ground. Like it's a fall day.
Okay. I'm going to tell you what I wrote down because the first time I wasn't watching that closely. So I wrote down right here because Ypsilanti, Michigan is just outside of Detroit. So it's close to, it's not quite in between Toledo and Detroit, but probably within the same distance, just like it's like a touch to the left of Detroit. Having been in Toledo in the winter, I wrote down, it's way too warm out to be Michigan in winter. Kripke knows better. So just hold that for a second.
Okay. But that was the first thing I noted. I was like, where are their coats?
Me too.
Why can't we see their breath? Why isn't it raining?
Yes,
those
it's like
are all
it's
those thoughts.
Christmas time in Michigan. So yes, they walk out
on?
into a warm spring day, Christmas time. And Sam mentions that he pulls out a tooth, a human tooth, blood still at the root that he had found in the chimney. But how is that possible? That chimney's way too small for a human to fit up through. So why was he there? What's going on? Research time.
Yep. So we catch up with them at a motel, and I just call this motel the Green Motel because everything in it was green, like avocado green or off hunter green. The couch, the cabinets, the wallpaper was mostly green motif. I was like, this is like nauseatingly green.
I was very confused by the theme of this motel because on like one wall there's like a huge hunting mural. Right. And then on the other side is this wallpaper with like hydrangeas and poppies and it's floral. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I couldn't tell you. I thought about it. I was like, nope. I have no idea.
I did catch because I was looking up something else, but I didn't catch it myself. I cannot take credit for it. But apparently this was like the Thomas Kincaid motel.
Oh, that's why there was the hunting. That's why there was that mural.
The picturesque kind of stuff, which they attributed to a call out from Sam being in a like Hallmark Christmas movie called The Christmas Cottage or something that I think was a Kincaid Christmas Cottage. I do not know. I cannot vouch for that.
Okay. Well, I guess Sam I could buy that because. But I always thought the Kincaids also had like that fake lighting painted into them. They always seemed to be lit from behind, but it was his painting technique.
Yeah.
And it always made me think of these are really ugly paintings because they just.
Yeah, my art teachers hated him. Let's looked on him with disdain.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were in the motel, this crazy motel.
Sam's researching. Dean's gone grocery shopping. So Dean, I love this. Dean always the provider. Always bringing Sam food while Sam's doing the researching. Mm-hmm. And Sam's researching, Christmas anomalies like Krampus. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure. I don't know what to say about Krampus. Well, he's like a horned half demon, half goat, half god who scares children who've been misbehaving.
Yes. So in like the old stories, it's like Santa Claus or Saint Nick or the Christkind came for the good children, and then the Krampus came for the bad children. The morning after, the good kids would be playing with their presents, and the bad kids would be nursing their injuries because he like whipped them. There's a lot of crazy things about Christmas. They get it kind of wrong here because they say it's Santa Claus's brother. He's the Anti-Claus, and then they name a bunch of different things, which are not the Anti-Claus, right? Nor are they ever Santa Claus's brother, right? What is it? I can't read my writing. Belsnickel. Oh, Belsnickels is actually, I think, supposed to be Santa Claus's brother, but he's still a good guy, right? But he's the one who whips kids. No. Black Peter. No, the Krampus is the one who hurts kids. Belsnickels, I heard, or I saw quickly, that he, on New Year's Eve, he puts cookies and treats on empty plates that are left out for him. Wow, you and I looked at very different sites for our information. We must have, but you know what? The world of Santa Claus and his various sidekicks, both good and evil, are so varied and mismatched and crazy. There's actually, in Salzburg, there's a Christmas museum, and they go through kind of all of this. Like, there's a whole room, that starts at the beginning of the history of, like, where, Saint Nicholas or Santa Claus, and kind of the mishmash of gods and people of that names and people formed him. Right. His different costumes that different cultures put him in, his different sidekicks, or I guess you could call them the Anti-Clauses, such as Krampus. Right. Or like Black Peter, who's Santa's assistant, which is, we won't go into that one. I think he started off as like a demon creature, and then unfortunately people morphed him into something else. Yeah. But anyway. But that's their number one. The Anti-Claus is their first. Yes, is whatever his name is. The Anti-Claus is the suspect, and not a serial chimney sweep. Not Dick Van Dyke. Who? Who? Mary Poppins? Huh? Dean. Again, I guess it just shows that he had a very different childhood from the rest of us. Yes, very different. But Dean discovers that both the people who went missing, the one thing they had in common was that they both had attended this like Santa's Village place. So they decided to go check out Santa's Village. Yes, which I loved. If we can set the scene of Santa's Village. It's your typical like Christmas fair, there's arts and crafts booths, there's hot cocoa booths. Yes. There's the Santa Claus, and then there's all these like sad characters walking around, like a poor guy in a reindeer suit saying hello to the poor guy in the elf suit. Yeah. All these elves totally look like elf, by the way. They do. I think it might be exactly that costume. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
minus like
The Will Ferrell elf. Mhm.
but the colored pants and the vest, the
Yeah.
coat, the hat, all that. I was like, oh my god, it's Elf.
Yeah.
And I was
But
not
this
sad
was
by
like a
that.
yeah, but this was a couple years after Elf came out, but and I'm sure it was still like a big thing. Because Elf came out, I think, in 2005, and if this is 2007, 8, you know, it would still have been. And if
Oh,
it
I
was
was
Christmas time when this aired, then it still would have been like, oh, Elf time.
oh, see, I was thinking they were
I
ahead of
still
their
get that
time.
way.
Santa! I
Yes.
know him. I do that all the time.
Yes.
But I totally thought that Supernatural was ahead of their time. I had the timeline
Oh,
switched, so
no.
but that's funny though. They look great, the elves.
They
all.
do.
I mean, there wasn't like they weren't in run down costumes because they were clean. They just like were kind of
The people
ill-fitting.
inside them that themselves are sad.
Yes,
like,
yes, exactly. Well,
this
first
is how I have to make my money.
the first push in to the village scene is a push in on the sign that's, you know, the little archway sign that you would walk under to enter the village, and it's a little cutout sign of like Santa Claus, you know, picture of Santa Claus over the words Santa's Village or Christmas Village or something. But it's not a happy Santa on this picture. I was like, not a very welcoming Santa. That was the first thing you see. Well, you know, the push into this village. And then you see all the sad characters. It's like, this is not going to be a good time for anybody. So Sam and Dean are walking, you know, slowly walking and talking through the village. And I think it's really funny. In the background behind them, there's a mom who is taking pictures of her kids, you know, in Santa's village. But she has them standing in front of this Christmas tree. And because of how long this walk and talk is, she's taking a million pictures of her two children in front of this Christmas tree. And she's literally doing every pose you can think of if you were taking pictures. It's, you know, camera's out here. Now the camera's up close. And now I'm going to, it's so funny. I'm like, bravo to the extra who had to take 4,000 pictures of her extra children in front of this Christmas tree. It was very funny to me. But while they're walking and talking, Dean brings up the idea of, hey, you know, you and I should do Christmas again. You know, we should have a Christmas thing. And Sam's like, no.
Yeah, he shuts it down real quick.
No,
he
I don't
turns
think so.
super Grinch.
Yep. And I love that. Once Dean kind of, you know, calls him a Grinch literally and like walks away from him, and Sam's left there kind of sulking. And of course then there's this camera push in. I keep saying of course, how would you know this? On this he gets a total stink eye from this like toy reindeer. The camera pushes in on this
I thought it kind of looked like a moose. I know it's probably supposed to be a reindeer, but I only saw like the tops of the antlers, and I was like, those look very moose like.
Maybe
to
it
me.
Was a moose. It was a
foreshadowing. I don't think it's been established yet that he's moose. Moose. But it's hard to tell, and I would assume that it would be a reindeer. That is what would make sense.
But anyway, is a cute little cartoony animal with googly eyes that was giving him the stink eye, which I thought was very cute.
And it triggers our first flashback of the episode.
Yes.
Now we go back to Broken Bow, Nebraska in 1991. So the boys are little boys.
Yes, little Sam and little Dean.
So little Sammy is wrapping up a gift in newspaper for Dad. He said that he had gotten it from Uncle Bobby to give to him. It's very special. Dad is out on business, and his business is selling stuff.
And Sam quit asking about it.
Yes.
Dean is being a real jerk to little Sam. Little Dean is being a real jerk to little Sam.
Yeah. He does assure him that he'll be there for Christmas because Christmas is coming. You know, Sam's worried. It's like, well, what if Dad can't make it?
He'll make it. He always does. You know,
shut up.
Yeah, stop it. And young Dean is the same actor. Ridge, what's his name? Canipe? Ridge. He was in Something Wicked. So he played Little Dean before, but little Sam, young Sam, is new. Colin Ford. They both did a great job. Yeah. And especially in this episode, I think little Sam, young Sam, did a fantastic job. Yeah. But Sam being Sam isn't backing down, even though Dean's being all super jerky brother to him. You know, he just has questions. And I don't blame him. They're stuck in these motel rooms.
Yeah, he's just being a kid, asking kid questions like, is he a spy? Like, why do we move around? He's playing the why game, essentially. Like,
yes.
Why?
But
and then when he brings up mom, like, does it have to do with mom?
Dean overreacts, and we don't talk about mom. You don't talk about mom. I was like, wow. Why can't Sam talk about mom? Why are you being such a jerk about it? It was so over the top. It wasn't like Sam was saying anything bad about her, which he's done like in the first episode, in the pilot episode. He does kind of trash talk mom, which is why Dean is like, don't talk about mom that way. But like in this moment, he's like, is this why we don't talk about mom?
Yeah. Little boy hormones.
Yeah. And so Dean's answer to that is to storm out and to leave Sammy alone in the motel room.
Yeah.
Great flashback memory for Sam. It's like, all right,
so
now we
that's
get
why you're a Grinch.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so in present day, Sam snaps back from being distracted by the Christmas moose.
To Dean noting that there's no snow. He's like, you would think with, Santa's Village that they could at least spring for some snow.
Right,
Santa's Village. So again, no snow on the ground. No, the kids aren't running around in jackets. They're carrying them in their hands.
Yeah. So while they're looking for this anti-clause, they're looking for the signs, which Sam says is walking with a limp and smelling like sweets.
Right.
So a pimp Santa, as Dean calls him.
Right.
I thought that was very funny.
That is very funny. But that's also a very supernatural edit there, because that's not, again, I didn't remember reading anything about that.
No.
So I think that was just a supernatural.
Yeah.
And so they come across the old, Santa Claus with, sit on Santa's lap. And there's this Santa is dirty and gross and is, talking to kids like, what do you want? How? It's really super creepy and
uncomfortable.
Right.
And I just felt like he was covered in a film, over his skin, He was just like that grungy.
He's been like, he smokes, his teeth are yellow, his beard is gross. And up walks Alf to Sam and Dean. And she's like, are you ready for me to take your child to sit on Santa's lap? And Sam and Dean are like, oh, no, we don't have a kid.
Well, no, this is a nice throw Sam under the bus moment.
Yeah, number one.
Number
in this
one.
episode.
Where Dean offers up Sam to go sit on Santa's lap. It's like, oh man, this is a dream he's had since he was 12. And she's like, well, sorry, no adults allowed. And then Sam digs the hole even deeper by saying, no, we're just here to watch.
I don't want to sit on his lap. I just want to watch. Yeah. And she's like, ew.
And then we have glorious Dean face, who is just basking in the awkwardness. That is Sam.
He's just like chalking up his head. He's like, got one there. So Santa's lap time is done. I guess he's taking a Santa break. And as he takes the last kid off his lap, he stands up and he starts to walk away. And he's clearly got a limp, full blown limp. And as he walks by Sam and Dean, they're like, did he smell like candy? And they're like, no, it's got to be Ripple. And I had to look up what Ripple is.
I assumed Ripple. It was some sort of like butterscotchy liquor.
Yeah, it's like a wine. Yeah. Basically, a sweet wine. So yes.
Yeah, I've never heard it either. I did assume that it was alcohol. So the boys follow that night the Santa suspect to his mobile home, just to not take any chances.
Staking out Santa.
Yeah. And then Dean again brings up his desire to have a good old-fashioned Christmas, and Sam again completely shuts it down.
Yep. And suddenly they hear, they look out the window because they're sitting in the Impala, and they see the Santa guy look out the window.
Saint Nicotine,
which brilliant, by the way.
Yes.
Saint Nicotine. He looks out the window. He's wearing like a dirty like A-line tank. He looks around real kind of guilty, like, and closes the curtains of his trailer. And then suddenly you hear like a woman scream. Sam and Dean pop out of the Impala, guns drawn, by the way, and go running up to the trailer. And Sam takes that moment to kind of stop and say, well, this is kind of funny. And he's like, what? He's like, Mr. Gung Ho Christmas may have to blow away Santa.
Yeah.
And I feel like Dean is like, I'll give you that one.
But then they burst in on a drunken, stoned Santa who is watching Christmas-themed porn, pun-filled porn.
You want to egg my nogs? No, nog my eggs.
Roast my chestnuts. I don't know. It was just like one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. It was great.
Santa porn. With the biggest bong, by the way, I think I've ever seen. I don't have a huge bong resume, but holy cow, that was bigger than the bong that was in in Andy's van. It was like bigger than that bong.
Because that bong would be impossible to like light by yourself.
It was like as tall as he was.
Right, because you need to like bend down. Like you couldn't have your mouth near the hole or the part where you need to inhale the smoke and bend down to light.
It's the biggest bong
to light it at the same time. You can't do both at the same time. But it was a funny visual.
It was a funny prop. It was absolutely hysterical because he also has like a bottle that looked like of absinthe or something in his hand. So this guy was ready for a good time by himself.
And he pops up, half, inebriated in whatever he's doing, and he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And the boys. I'm actually going to play the clip.
Okay.
Because I think that they could do it better than we could.
Silent night. Holy night. All is high. Bright round and round the table.
I love that Santa joins in, and even Santa gets it wrong.
I know.
That's got to be intentionally flat. I mean, because we all know that Jensen can sing.
Oh, Jensen has a beautiful, like the voice of an angel.
Silent night.
And if you watch it with subtitles, the words they get wrong.
Around the table. Oh man. Yeah, really. Why they decided that was the way to exit, I don't know. But I mean, who? Like, I want to ask Santa. It's like, who kicks in your door and sings carols?
Who cares?
Yeah,
he obviously didn't care.
Bought it. Yep. He bought it 100%. It's a nice segue to the next scene, in which there are actual carols being sung. Yeah, and sung, correctly and brightly and beautifully.
Yes.
I kind of thought was funny that this is the way it should have sounded.
So while the boys are singing, in this mobile home, singing their terrible rendition of Silent Night, the actual monster has made another stop. So we are in a beautiful house again. We have a cute little curly-headed boy.
Oh my God, the cutest.
Sneaking down the stairs because he heard Santa noises. He's like, Santa, you're early. Cute, like a Santa suit, but a blood-soaked Santa suit.
I felt like it was actually like a skin suit. Like it wasn't fuzzy felted. Mm-hmm. The only fuzzy felty part would have been like the cuffs around his wrists and his boots, and those were covered with blood. But his coat, his like normally red felty coat, almost was like wet leather or skin. It was gross. It was
very. And the boy just like stands there in shock watching him as Bloody Santa slowly makes his way up the stairs.
Leaves the little boy, goes up the stairs.
We hear a woman scream. We hear a sound and then she stops screaming. Some more rumbly noises. Santa comes back down the stairs lugging a sack that is moving behind him. It's obviously got a human in it.
Right. Sounds like a man.
Thump, 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 down the stairs.
Yep.
And then finally, when he gets down the stairs, you hear again like that, just like bone crunch, and then the bag stops moving or stops making sounds.
And all of this right in front of the little boy who was like watching, and the expressions on this little boy's face are wonderful. I mean, he's confused, he's shocked, he's disgusted, he's doesn't know if he's next, and the next thing we see is this like arm reaching towards the little boy, and the little boy's face just does like eyes open wide, like, oh my God, I'm next. And instead this creature reaches behind the little boy and takes a cookie and is like, crunch, 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 cookie, and leaves. Takes his bloody sack and leaves the little boy. I thought it was a really nice touch that as this monster thing is going up the stairs to the parents' bedroom, you can still hear the music playing. The last thing you hear before the right after the crunch sound that you hear of him like punching or hitting or killing the mom is all is calm. All is calm. Crunch. Dead silence. All music has now stopped. And then just hear the thump, thump, thump and the man's groans.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention this with the other little boy scene, but this was an episode on the DVD that had a like little vignette or a closer look, little bit, like a behind the scenes interview with Kripke. And he said, now most episodes we have a scene in our heads that we just need to get out onto the screen, and sometimes the script centers around those scenes, he had 3 in this one.
Wow.
4 if you want to include the little special presentation spinaroo at the beginning.
Sure.
The first one was the little boy watching Santa or his grandfather get like sucked up into the chimney. And then this was the second one.
Oh my God. Brilliant. This one was brilliant.
And then the third one comes later, and I'll let you know when that is.
Okay.
But I do appreciate that Kripke recognizes how twisted he is. He's like, this is the thing that I needed to see, was like a small child being traumatized by an evil
by
Santa.
A Santa-like thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you follow Kripke on Twitter, even just when he's talking about The Boys, his current TV show.
The TV show, The Boys.
Yeah, The Boys. He is absolutely twisted, and he acknowledges it. He's like, I can't believe we're doing this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So this monster thing leaves, again, a little boy. Takes a grown-up and leaves a little boy. So now I'm thinking that this is kind of a callback to what was there? There's the clown. Yeah. That it kills the evil doing parents and leaves the kids. But
although they weren't really evil doing.
Well, then no. I mean, yes, the clown, but then there was somebody else who they killed. Wasn't there an episode? Oh, was it The Kids Are All Right? No. I thought
this is recently. It's the ship.
Yes, thank you. It's that, if you did something wrong, you were killed by the ghost. So I was like, wow, that's really soon for them to bring this particular attribute up again. That if you're the evil parent, you get, or the evil family member, you get killed.
But they're not evil.
I know. But I don't know anything about the parents so far. Like, why is this Christmas
right now
doing it?
I see.
In this moment, watching the episode, I don't know why the kids are being left behind and why the parents are being taken. So it made me think the parents have done something wrong.
I gotcha.
And then I was thinking, if that's the case, didn't we just see an episode like this?
I understand now. Okay, so the next day, boys are FBI again, interviewing this mom. Who survived, but she was knocked out cold. So she didn't see or hear anything that happened after she screamed. She just knows that her husband was there, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. Then Sam, out of nowhere, asks about the wreath over their fireplace.
And gets an amazing look from Dean. Dean's like, what's with the sudden interest in greenery?
And I was like, where did Mr. Bedside go?
Yeah, right?
And I think it caught Sam off guard too. It's like, just Just curious. I think he got lost a little bit in his venture about trying to figure out this mystery. But turns out that he saw that same wreath at the previous house, at the Walshes. So more research time.
Yep, back at the Green Motel, Sam's on the phone with Bobby. we don't hear what Bobby's saying, but we get the idea that he's being Bobby.
Yes, we assume that he's called them idiots.
Yes, probably more than once.
Yep.
That this is not Santa or evil Santa, doing this.
Right.
Oh, the one piece of information Bobby was able to get them is that the wreath was most likely made out of meadowsweet, and I guess that's an herb.
Yes.
According to pagan lore, it attracts gods to human sacrifices. So,
yes,
as they put it, you hang this on your door, and it's basically an invitation for the gods to come and kill you.
Yes, it's chum for the carnivorous gods, which meadowsweet is not a pagan thing at all, I don't think. Because I looked it up. It's mostly a medicinal herb. I think it's what they based aspirin off of. Like they made a synthetic ingredient that mimics whatever ingredient is in this plant. But I could not find anything about it being used in paganism or witchcraft or, okay. I mean, maybe they mentioned a couple times like, oh, it's used for love spells or something, because it does smell very sweet.
Okay.
Which they mentioned later, that it does have like a very strong fragrance, a good fragrance. So it's mostly used for wedding ceremonies. Like they would they would throw it on the floor of like the wedding.
Oh, to crush it and make the scent come up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. But in supernatural world.
Yes.
Chum for human eating gods.
Yes.
So Sam has continued his research into pagan gods and anything surrounding Christmas, and he comes up with, he thinks this could be the pagan god Holdnikar, who's the god of the winter solstice, and he would give blessings to his worshippers by bringing them mild weather. So if you worshipped him or you did the sacrifice, he would then grant you, beautiful weather. Aha.
Yes, I wrote
Now I get why it's not snowing in Michigan.
And I do want to point out that on Sam's computer screen, it is not an image of Holdnikar. It is of Krampus's and the Green Man, who is like the
Green Man in the center,
god
right?
of spring, essentially. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So since they were talking about the Christmas wreaths, they decided to go to a Christmas store, which every town has like all Christmas, all the time stores, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where Dean sets up Sam number 2.
Yes.
So they walk into this Christmas store, which is just, chocked full of ornaments and Christmas and wreaths and evergreens and la, 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 la. And they start asking about, this wreath. And of course, Dean is like, go ahead, Sam, ask about the wreath.
That you loved so much, you went crazy over.
You just, on and on. And I just love, Sam kind of rolls his eyes, grits his teeth, and plays the game. Sam says, it was yummy. It was yummy. It was a yummy wreath. And I forget what else happened, but the shop owner ends up calling Sam, what's he call him? Aren't you a fussy one?
Fussy one, yes.
Fussy one. Because he wants
he said,
wreath,
I have a
wreath.
lot of wreaths, but no, I specifically want one that is made with meadowsweet. It's got to be that one.
You a fussy
aren't
one.
you fussy? Turns out he doesn't have any more.
Yep.
And he did not make them. They were given to him by a local lady who makes them. And they were so special that she just gave them to... I loved this exchange, this little scene. And there was something about like the quickness of the back and forth. Madge Kerrigan is her name.
Madge.
That they were... she donated them to him, essentially.
Yeah.
And Dean goes, oh, well, did you sell them for free? Hell no, it's Christmas. People pay a buttload for this crap. That's the spirit.
Yep.
That tickled me so much, this little scene.
That's the spirit. Loved it. Because he wasn't a jerk. He was just like, yeah. People love that shit. That's why I'm selling it.
Literally just in it for the money. That's true. So at the motel, they do a lot of back and forth at this motel.
Yeah. Maybe it was nearby.
Just to know.
And it was Dean still trying to get Sam to do Christmas. And now he's like saying, yeah, but don't you remember, like, Dad got us a wreath made out of beer cans. Come on, remember how cool that was? And Sam's still not having it. And so this time, instead of just shutting him down, it's like, why do you want this so bad? Why are you pushing me so hard?
Why have you all
Christmas?
of a sudden become so fixated on Christmas after all of these years?
Yep.
And Dean says, well, this is my last one. I really want to just enjoy Christmas one last time.
Yeah.
And for that exact same reason, Sam cannot even entertain the idea. Because he doesn't want to think of Dean, being dead a year from now, the next Christmas.
Right. My next Christmas will be without you. Which triggers flashback number 2.
Yes.
Dean has brought dinner to the motel.
Funyuns.
Yeah. And pop. And Sam being all inquisitive and investigative, has found Dad's journal and read it. And he probably read it from cover to cover.
Yeah.
So he read all about demons and ghosts and monsters.
And mom.
And confronts Dean. He's like, boom, I read it. And Dean's mad, but he's like, all right, you shouldn't have read it. Dad's going to kill you. But Sam pushes past that and says, so are monsters real? And Dean's like, yeah, they are real. And you know what? Dad's a superhero because Dad hunts monsters. That's why our dad is so cool. He's the best. He's keeping us safe. And Sam, keeps doing his investigating. And it's like, well, if monsters can get mom, because is that what happened to mom? Yes. So if monsters can get mom, then monsters can get dad, and then monsters can get us. And now Dean gets to, kind of be I don't want to say the father figure, but just the more mature person this time, instead of reacting and being like, no, we don't talk about it. No, you're going to get in trouble. He's like, Dad won't let that happen. Dad's a superhero. That's not how this works. And that's the bottom line. This is why Dad isn't here, but he will be here.
Yeah. But despite Dean's assurance, Sam is he's too upset. He just goes to bed, that's a lot of information for a small child to take in.
Yeah.
So
monsters
he's just like,
are real.
You know what? Santa's not real.
Yeah, monsters are real, but Santa's not, which is the complete opposite. Again, be careful what you tell kids,
Yeah.
It's like, and he goes to bed and he's, obviously upset and crying, not weeping, but, his world's been literally turned upside down.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt bad for him, but I love the acting in those scenes, those kids. So the next day, Sam and Dean are at the Carnigans. Carnigans?
I think it's Kerrigan.
Kerrigans. Okay. I think I wanted to not say Kerrigan because I always think of Nancy Kerrigan. And I was like, that can't be right, but it's Kerrigan. Okay. There's Christmas music playing outside. They've got all the Christmas lawn ornaments, although the Christmas music to me sounded slightly off, just,
So they go to the house. Madge Kerrigan, we're introduced to her, who is suspiciously sweet and Leave It to Beaver-esque.
Yes, she is like perfect 50s housewife.
Yes.
Even has like rosy cheeks.
Golly darn, all of those.
Oh, you Merry Christmas. I want to point out that, I was going to say, before they actually knock on her door, Dean is still like a little butthurt over Sam, kind of poo-pooing on Christmas, but not only poo-pooing on Christmas, but like introducing the idea that, Christmas isn't the day that Jesus was born. It's the pagans who usurped. I mean, it was a pagan holiday that the Christians usurped.
Yes.
So there was that conversation that we kind of
we glossed over, but Sam gives
over.
a Christmas lesson. Jesus isn't actually born on Christmas Day. It was like a Christianity versus pagans thing. Christianity kind of won, which is, I think, all true.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think Dean is bummed out by that. So he kind of gets a dose of what Sammy got as a little boy, that everything he thought was true isn't true. And so Dean's kind of, when he walks up to the door, he's all still kind of harumphing over the, pagans, pagan practices. So when Madge opens the door, they ask her about her wreaths. Are you the woman who makes the wreaths? And she's like, oh, yes, they smell so sweet. And then, no, I don't have any more. Why do you make them out of meadowsweet? Oh, they just smell so sweet. And Dean's like, yeah, you said so. You said that. We get it. They smell sweet. Enter Mr. Kerrigan. And he is like Mr. What did I say? Leave it to Beaver? No. Oh, you know what he said? He reminded me, in another life, Joe could have been this guy. Joe Fight Guy.
Kinda. The face, I could see it.
The face, exactly. That's all. I was just thinking his facial features. I was like, oh my God, Joe could have totally been this guy. But yeah, so this guy, same thing. He's like Mr. 50s perfect house husband. He's got the pipe. He's got the, whoa, hey boys, what are you doing
vest.
here? Sweater vest. Oh yeah. I mean, these two people are perfect to the nth degree if you were back in the 50s. And I love that he even offers Dean like peanut brittle.
Yeah.
hey kids, want some peanut brittle? Dean like goes to take it, and Sam's like
he just slaps his hand away.
We don't take candy from strangers, and especially from strangers who could potentially be pagan gods who are murdering people. So they have no wreaths. They don't have any more wreaths, and fudge.
All right, so now we're back to research time again at the motel.
Although this time, Sam is researching. Dean, however, instead of loading guns and oiling guns and stuff like
he's
that,
sharpening up a steak.
He's carving his own evergreen steaks because Bobby said evergreen is what kills them.
Is their kryptonite, yes.
Yeah.
But Sam found what he was looking for, just to confirm that it was actually them, that the Kerrigans lived in Seattle last year where a bunch of the same things happened.
Right.
And also their home on the inside was not covered up in mistletoe and holly, but in like mint and other kinds of pagan herbs that are involved with pagan things. So great. Found our people. Let us go.
Let's go get them. So back at the Kerrigans.
Yes.
Come All Ye Faithful is playing.
Yes.
As they're walking up there.
This time they pick the lock, and then we take a tour of Capasso's house.
And by that you mean?
Yes. So, dear listeners, this was a little inside joke, but we have a mutual friend who is the most Christmas crazy human being I've ever met in my entire life. I remember the first time going over in the apartment, there were like 4, and at the house, I think at one point he had 7.
Oh my God.
No, 9 Christmas trees altogether, but 2 of them are artificial. The rest are real.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of trees. It's a lot of ornaments.
It's a lot
That's a lot of Christmas.
It's a lot of Santa. It's a lot of Christmas. It's so much Christmas. And it's very similar to this house that they're walking through. Yes. It might even be more than this house they're walking through.
Right. Yeah. Christmas everywhere. It kind of looked like the store,
Yes.
There's Christmas tchotchkes everywhere.
Yes.
And even like the kitchen table is like filled with cookies, like Christmas cookies of different kinds.
Yeah.
And in the kitchen, Sam finds a bolted and locked door, which we assume they picked those locks because next thing we see is Sam and Dean heading down a flight of stairs into a basement. a bloody flight of stairs.
Oh, yeah. This whole basement is just covered in blood.
Like dripping and pooled
sticky
and smears.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
there's body parts everywhere. There's like the bloody Santa boots are there, that bloody
and the
Santa
suit.
coat. There's bloody tools and chains. Like there's a bandsaw that clearly still has human detritus
Stuff
on it. It's like,
yeah.
oh gosh.
You're not a very cleanly pagan god.
Pagan god. Oh no, it's just gross.
Yeah. And then finally they come across like a Santa bag hanging on a hook from a wall, and he kind of like pokes it, and then it starts moving and thrashing, like,
and at the same time, Madge leaps out and grabs Sam. And even as evil as she is in this moment, she's like, I kind of wish you guys hadn't done that.
Yes.
You know, kind of wish you boys hadn't found your way down here.
Yeah.
Total jump scare moment. But she grabs Sam and starts choking him one-handed, like lifts him off the ground with one hand and is choking him while still being completely pleasant and nice about it.
Yes. Turns out Madge is very strong.
Very strong.
And then the husband comes by. I didn't ever catch his name.
No, I just kept calling him Mr.
I think that's totally fine. Mr. Kerrigan.
Mr.
Kerrigan comes by again and like knocks Dean out. And then there's a really cool effect that happens where I think Sam has his flashlight still in his hand while he's thrashing against Madge's hand. And it sweeps over the faces of Madge and Mr. Kerrigan, and their faces just kind of turn
monstery, like gray. It's almost like we could see their skulls, you know, like gray skulls under their skin. And it was just a glimpse. So Sam and Dean wake up tied to chairs in the kitchen. Both of them are back to back. They can't see each other.
They're tied indie style.
Yes, exactly.
From
Last Crusade.
Yes.
Christmas music still playing.
It's still Christmas everywhere. And Madge and Mr. Kerrigan, are still being their super Cunningham selves.
Yes.
As they're explaining themselves and prepping for this ritual, because ritual is still very important to them. And they do not, Mr., appreciate the way that they are talking. Watch your mouth, young man.
And Sam, he's like, well, it's good to know that we're dealing with Mr. and Mrs. God. Glad we figured that one out.
Yeah, right.
And did you notice that Mr. has a pin on his sweater that says "Think Snow"?
No.
You know, I thought that was really cute because I was looking at their sweaters. I was like, those are some super big Christmas sweaters.
I know.
You know, Madge had a little flashing pin, but his actually said "Think Snow," and I was like, now that's comedy.
No, I was watching Madge like put napkins on the boys' laps to prep for the mess that they were about to make.
I also love that Dean and Sam are like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The napkin
what is going on here?
But they dropped their facade for just a second, not their actual faces, but they dropped the premise of being polite for just a second. And Mr. Kerrigan says, well, you're hunters. Like, we figured it out. You guys are hunters. And then he switches back on to, but that's okay. We're going to, invite you to dinner anyway. Type of thing.
But they try to defend themselves because they say, we used to take hundreds of victims every year. And now we only take like 4 or 5. That's not so bad.
That's not so bad.
We had to go into hiding because Jesus took over everything.
Right, that Jesus fella. Yeah. Like, we play bridge, we go to church, we do all the things, what do you call it? Assimilate. And they're doing all this while holding like torture implements in their hands. Right.
They slice each boy's arm a few times, to gather blood in a bowl, goblet type of thing.
Alrighty-roo.
Yes.
Slice. Yeah.
And then, this was hard to watch. One of those torture implements is like a crazy pliers looking thing.
It's a fencing vice grip pliers. I looked it up. I did.
Okay.
Fencing vice grip pliers. So something you would use to pull staples out of fences, out of wooden posts that you would use to
that makes
string like
sense.
barbed wire across
Yeah.
fence posts. So you'd use those pliers to pull.
Remove the staples. Well,
It's the right tool for the job, apparently.
it is, and this job would be to pull out Sam's fingernail.
I will admit, my stomach flipped when I watched this. Not in the nausea, like barf flip, but it just did this whoop.
It made your fingers hurt because you're like, my god.
Yep. Even so, knowing that was coming up when I went back to watch it the second time, I looked away. I couldn't watch it, even knowing that it's it's fake and stuff like that. I couldn't. I was just like, nope. I just turned my head away and I waited for the sound, which audio, hello,
I know,
was so bad.
I know.
Crazy, slow, torturous pulling off of Sam's fingernail. Ugh.
Oh, we got a good one. Yeah, that made me feel.
Yeah, it made me oogie. It fully made me oogie. Yeah. So in the meantime, though, Dean, of course, is being Dean, and he's like, "You bitch, you stop it, son of a bitch, you bitch." And Mrs. Kerrigan's like, "Now listen, if you're gonna swear at me, you need to change your words." Now, I always, you know what I say when I want to curse? I say fudge. And I love that she says fudge while she's holding up this like silver sickle bladed, knife. I say fudge. And Dean's response is, "I'm going to fudge and kill you."
Yes. There you go.
Fudging touch me, I'll fudge and kill you. And she's like, "That's right. That's the way to do it. You're learning."
So now that Sam's fingernail has been pulled out, Mr. Kerrigan goes to Dean to then pull a tooth from his head. Because that's all they need. That's the last ingredient they need for whatever ritual they're doing.
Oh, God.
Gets his little pliers up in there. It's loose. Like, you could see it wiggling and, like, start to pull out. When all of a sudden the doorbell rings. Thank God. Thank God. I don't think that
Even Dean says, "Don't you think you need to get that?"
Yeah.
Is somebody going to get the door? I really think you should get the door. Oh, God. Now, I've had many teeth pulled. Many teeth pulled. And that, again, another scene where I had to turn my eyes away because I was like, nope, can't watch this. I also love, though, a quote for this episode was Mr. Kerrigan. He says, "Sweet Peter on a popsicle stick." We almost forgot the tooth. Sweet Peter on a popsicle stick. Oh, my God. So doorbell rings, saving Dean from having his teeth yanked out with pliers.
Yes, at that moment, anyway. Turns out at the door is a neighborly neighbor who's giving away a fruitcake and inviting them to go Christmas caroling and, oh boy, Merry Christmas. And everyone's very
cheery, over the top, Christmassy, polite, saccharine, sweet.
Yes. They decline the offer. His back has been acting up. So when she leaves, they drop the fruitcake, step on it unceremoniously, and head back into the kitchen to resume the ritual. But that was just enough time for the boys to make their escape.
Right.
Don't leave the Winchesters alone for 2 seconds.
Right. And then don't walk back into that room because they are going to lock you in there. Sam and Dean managed to slam the doors shut to the kitchen and block them. So now the Mr. and Mrs. are locked in the kitchen, banging on the doors. And Sam and Dean are like, well, our weapons are in the basement where they grabbed us. So what can we do to kill them? Where are we going to find Evergreen? Ta-da!
Oh, look at the Christmas tree over there.
Look, there's a Christmas tree. So I feel bad anytime you see a Christmas tree get knocked over, even though it's kind of funny when it does. I'm still like, oh, it makes me feel sad. I'm like, oh, the Christmas tree got knocked over. But Sam and Dean rush over, knock over their Christmas tree, and start yanking branches off to make spears, I guess, or stakes. Out of them. As they're tearing the branches off the tree, suddenly it gets quiet. The pounding has stopped in the kitchen.
The kitchen gets quiet.
Yeah, the kitchen gets quiet. The pounding on the doors has stopped. Somehow, Mr. and Mrs. have gotten out. And of course, I wrote down, they're gods.
Yeah.
Right, they're gods.
Literally just about to say that. It's like, well, they are gods. So.
They are gods. They're gods. They got out. And this was a pretty great, if not short, fight scene.
Yes.
So Dean gets his ass kicked by Mr. Rogers, and Sam gets a pretty good thrashing by June Cleaver. You know? But it is short because Sam grabs an evergreen branch, slashes at Madge with it. It kind of burns her, and then in the next moment just gullets her with the evergreen branch, just stabs her in the stomach, and end of Madge.
Yep.
And of course Mister's like, no, Madge, and Dean uses that moment of distraction to then take his branch and stab Mister, and not only just like harpoon him with the tree branch, but like stab him repeatedly over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, I am making sure you are dead.
Yes.
In a typical Dean fashion.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, says Sam. You wanted Christmas? Here you go.
Yep. So now we cut to the third and final flashback of the scene. Little Dean is waking little Sammy. Look, Dad came for Christmas, but then left. But look what he brought. There's a poor, sad little Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
I love that. I was like, oh, Dean, you're the best. Not only did you get a Christmas tree, but he got lights. And I even wrote down Charlie Brown Christmas tree, too. So I thought that was such a nice touch.
Yes. And look at all the gifts. Dig in. Let's go.
Sam's like, yay. You know, he's bummed that Dad's not there, but he's like, all right.
Yeah,
I'm
a kid. I got Christmas.
And tears it open, and it's a Barbie doll. And Sam's confused. He's like, all right. Dean's like, don't worry about it. And, you know, he makes
Dad just thinks you're a girl.
Girl. Yeah, girl joke.
Yeah. So then the second present ends up being a twirly baton. So Sam very quickly realizes, you know, Dad didn't come. You did this. Where did you get these presents from? Yeah.
And Dean admits to stealing them from a house down the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Swear I did not know they were chick presents.
Right.
So this brings Sam back down because he's like, Dad probably didn't come because he's dead. You know, it's like, what if he's hurt, or what if he died? Don't worry. Takes a breather and then pulls out that newspaper wrapped present and hands it to Dean. He says, I want you to have this because Dad lied to me. And he doesn't really deserve this. Yeah. So I want you to have it.
Yep.
And Dean opens it up. And it's the Samulet.
The Samulet. It's obviously, for those of you who know the show, it's what Dean is wearing in every episode.
Necklace. Yes, it's his necklace.
But it also later in the series holds even greater importance.
Right.
And we do call it the Samulet instead of the amulet because Sam gave it to Dean. And Dean graciously says, I love it. Thank you.
And puts it
and he
right
wears
on.
it. Yep. And it was an honest emotion, and I was so happy for that.
Yeah.
You know, it was honest. He wasn't trying to be consoling and being, you know, sorry Dad's not here. Yes, I'll wear your necklace.
It's a super cool necklace.
Jump to the present.
Yeah, present day. Dean comes home to another Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Yeah, this one's like jammed into an oil drum or something, you know, or a paint can.
Yeah, and like a pitiful like Merry Christmas banner across the wall. The whole thing is very Charlie Brown. But it's a Christmas. It's a Christmas that Dean came home to, and he wasn't expecting, and it's complete with heavily spiked eggnog and Sam's goofy faces.
Yeah, Sam was actually pretty like, what do you think? You know, look, I did it.
I think it was kind of proud. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it. And if you don't know, in the scene where Sam hands Dean some eggnog, it's like, you know, cheers, let's do eggnog. You know, let me know if it needs more, you know, more alcohol. Jared actually did put real rum in the eggnog.
He did?
Yeah. So the face that you see with Jared Jensen going, like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's because it was like 90% rum and 10% eggnog. So he's like, let me know what you think. You know, it's because Jared actually like super heavy spiked it.
Nice.
And they decide to exchange gifts. And it turns out they both did get each other gifts, even though the other person said, no, we're not doing Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, they still got each other gifts from the gas station. So Dean gave Sam some nudie magazines and shaving cream. And Sam gave Dean oil and a candy bar.
Yeah.
Right. So it was really sweet. He's like, yeah, fuel for my baby and fuel for me, you know. And I
Yeah.
love that Sam actually acted really excited about the nudie magazines.
Yes.
It's like skin mag. Yay. Dean says, Merry Christmas, bro. He's never called Sam bro before. And I don't know if he does again.
Oh,
Something to keep an eye on. It's just, I thought that was an interesting little,
yeah.
you know, didn't call him Sammy.
And Sam wants to start up a heavy conversation. And he says, hey, Dean, ... Decides to leave it for another day and says, you want to watch the game? Yeah. So then they turn on the game, and then the camera pulls out to another Christmas carol. It's Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas
by Rosemary Clooney.
Yes.
George Clooney's aunt.
And the camera pulls back, and finally, it's snowing in Michigan.
Yep. Yeah, I love that the camera leaves them in this like somewhat warm motel room. It pulls out through the window and pulls back to the parking lot, and you see snow falling on the Impala. Yeah. Which was really beautiful.
This was a really nice shot because it had all of the colorful Christmas lights reflecting in the Impala and then the snow falling down.
Yep. And then the brothers safe and warm inside together.
Watching the game.
The last musical line refrain that you hear is we'll have to muddle through somehow.
Yeah. Until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow.
Yep. And I was like, we're going to leave it all behind for today.
Yep.
And the rest of it, we just have to muddle through. And I was like, well, Christmas had the, all the poignancy that they needed. And it's so true for their lives. Mm-hmm. Very, very nice. It was a great little walk away, so to speak. I was ready to leave this episode, like as soon as it, did that beautiful pullback with the snow falling the Impala. I was like, yay, we get a break. Again, I talk about needing breaks from some of the episodes just because they're so tension filled. This was a nice break. It wasn't like they were, yes, they were tortured, but it wasn't the, it wasn't Yellow Eyes danger. It was, it wasn't fully filled with angst the way it is. So it was a nice breather for the end, but I had some questions. And it's questions. I think, remember in the beginning I said I felt like there were some holes like in this. I just had some questions, and you can tell me to not ask them, or you can answer them the way you usually do, which is because I didn't think about it, or you've got the answer, or you can just tell me to.
Or it's TV.
It's just a TV show. Why would the pagan gods keep an evergreen tree in their house, the one thing that can kill them? And while I love the effect of this evergreen tree, like it burned her when Sam slashed her with it, how did they decorate the tree without burning themselves?
See, I guess I either didn't catch it or I didn't read it that way. It didn't seem like it burned her. I think it was maybe with the branch coming off. It was just like, oh no, now it's a weapon. But that is a very good question. Is like, why would they keep something?
The one thing that can kill them.
Yeah.
In the apartment. So that was.
Oh, I did forget to mention that was Kripke's third scene that he really wanted was somebody being killed by a Christmas tree.
You're a sick individual, Eric Kripke. We love you for it. Why bother with the Santa disguise? Why would the gods bother dressing up as Santa, if they're just this bloody freaking mess of a Santa? You know what I mean? So why the whole Santa disguise other than to confuse people when they've left? Like how people could describe what they saw if they were left alive.
That's a really good answer, because it's always children that see it, and so they're going to be the ones to say it was Santa Claus.
It was Santa.
And I would also attribute it to how much importance they place on ritual, and maybe that is part of the ritual. Okay.
No, I get that. That's good. See? Thank you, Sammy.
Shrug.
All right. Why don't they take kids? Just a question.
Yeah.
Why not? And then my final question was, why bother with the wreaths if they weren't attracting the gods? Because
Right, 'cause
they're the gods.
She made them.
Right. But weren't they supposed to be attracting her to
Right.
the... I mean, maybe that's how it started.
So, okay, here's a thought that just came to me. So she makes them, right? And then she gives them to the guy. And then the guy sells them. So maybe this is her way of, okay, I can smell it from afar. Maybe she's got like super sensitive nose to meadowsweet. And so she doesn't pick them at random. Maybe she
They're
just
picked for her.
Yeah. She plays like a little game of
since humans are no longer setting out sacrifices for her, she plants the seed of sacrifice okay. That was my thing. I was like, what's the point? You know, and if she has meadowsweet, because she puts meadowsweet around Sam and Dean's necks, and that's part of their ritual. It's like, oh, we can't start the ritual without the meadowsweet.
Yeah.
But that was my question. I was like, they're self-picking, they're they're self-chumming the waters.
They definitely are.
You know, it's like me setting out glasses of wine, you know, for myself. You know. So anyway, that was it. It was a fun episode. Yeah. And I loved the guest actors on it. The kids, all of the kids, not just the Sam and Dean, but all the Christmas kids and the Mr. and Mrs. Kerrigan. Edward, the guy played Edward, Mr. Kerrigan, is Spencer Goretti. And let's see, he's another one of those actors who's been on everything.
Yeah.
X-Files, 21 Jump Street back in the day, and something else that I can't read because of my hands are so bad. And Madge Kerrigan is Marilyn Garr. She was also on an X-Files. Really? She was also on 21 Jump Street. And she was actually also on MacGyver.
Oh my God.
So they were not in the same episodes though, because I did check that. I was like, oh my gosh, what are the chances of them being in the same episode?
Yeah.
But yeah, they absolutely are those actors that you see everywhere. Oh, shout out to our friend Joe, who could have been Mr. Kerrigan in looks.
30 years from now.
Well, yes. I was not intimating, Joe, that you look like. Never mind. Dig that hole in deeper. So what's next? What's the next one?
Our next episode is, I'm probably not going to pronounce this right, Malleus Maleficarum.
Okay.
Latin handful.
Yep. Good thing it's not a spoken language anymore, so no one's going to correct you about the pronunciation.
What if we just happen to have like a Latin scholar that is one of our listeners? Well, actually,
you probably would have called us out sooner when I said that one of the incantations, Sam, ended with the word booby.
Boobies.
So,
yeah, fair enough.
Cool.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry. Too bad it's not July.
Christmas in
July. Christmas in July. Or Christmas in May. That's okay.
That's okay. Merry Christmas, Sammy.
Merry Christmas, Valerie. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you for listening. You can follow us. We can follow us, subscribe to us, and rate us anywhere you can do so for podcasts. You can also follow us on social media. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere. We will see you next week for Malleus Maleficarum.
Maleficarum.
We'll see if I can figure out how to pronounce it by next week.
By then. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.